welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for May the 13th. We are live here at paceradio.net. And good morning, Rev Cindy. How are you doing?
Good morning, Al. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Well, not sick totally or anything, just a mild cold going on. Got a bit of a cough, that's all. But other than that, doing good.
Good. I hope it passes quickly.
Yeah, same here. Exactly. On the eyewitness weather report today, it is gloomy and wet here today.
Oh, well, we have sunny and blue skies now that the northern lights are done.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, did you see them?
No, we had nothing but cloud cover here. So I got to see some beautiful pictures, but I didn't actually get to see this round myself.
Hey, I know how you feel. I went out there both nights and clouds. I got a picture of just one light in the sky, and that was the moon, and it was just barely coming through the clouds.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was about the same here.
Yeah, a lot of nice pictures though, and and there was pictures that were taken in my general area of them. The thing is that I wasn't out there at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning looking for them.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say? We get on with the news?
Sounds good.
All right. First story.
Off to StratCan. BC again raids unlicensed cannabis shops on Comox First Nation.
Several unlicensed cannabis stores in Comox, BC faced enforcement action by members of the province's Community Safety Unit on May the 9th. The raid is the second in the community this year, the first taking place in February. Stores had products, cash, and equipment seized before quickly reopening. The enforcement action included a presence from the BC RCMP.
In an open letter posted May 9th, the elected chief and council of the Comox First Nation said they are disappointed by the CSU's actions and the provincial government. The province and RCMP's actions are challenging as they are not allowing the time for our community to work through the process needed to find a path forward on cannabis that makes sense for our nation. We are frustrated that the province and RCMP are prioritizing these enforcement actions when we know we have other significant community safety issues that are not supporting us with, trespass, criminal activities, and animal control on our lands.
Chief and council also question why the community is facing repeated enforcement, while other communities appear to go untouched. They say that they are working with another First Nations-owned cannabis retail chain, Unity Cannabis, which operates a handful of provincially licensed stores in BC on identifying a path forward. Now, according to more of this from the chief and them, it says, in addition, it seems the province is applying enforcement against unregulated cannabis shops inconsistently across BC. It seems like Comox is being unfairly targeted, bearing a higher burden than other nations, and that's not right. Hey.
Yeah, the province's actions like today's create a bigger divide in our community and do not allow us the space and time to work through this process without provocation. We continue to work with Unity Cannabis to identify and flesh out meaningful options for our community to move forward, rooted in input and feedback from our members. We are also committed to working with shop owners. We will continue to voice our concerns with the province and advocate for our nation. Unfortunately, there is no quick fix to this situation, and the process takes time.
A representative from Unity was not immediately available for comment. This is a shift from council's statements following the raid in February, which remained more neutral and referred to provincial jurisdiction when it comes to retail cannabis licensing.
Rob Laurier, I should say, a lawyer who represents one of the cannabis stores facing such enforcement actions, the Buttery, says he's not seen anything in the form of penalties from the previous raids. They still haven't done anything from the first raids in February, but they did indicate that if they have to come back again, they'll serve warrants.
Yeah, they haven't. The CSU's been doing this to a lot of people, just going in and getting their stuff and then leaving. It's like illegal robbery.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, Lori continues with, for whatever reason, they are just not taking the same degree of enforcement against Indigenous operators as they would against non-Indigenous And I think that's similar to the test cases with dispensaries in the city of Vancouver. They're taking a cautious approach because what if they're wrong? What if the courts agree with the Indigenous community, not the government? The province shared a similar perspective on this, and the province agrees with them.
Yeah, I mean, like, and if you watch what's happening on this side of Canada, like on our side of Canada, you would see that the province is right to be hesitant to go after them.
Yeah.
Although the BC government has long taken the position that BC's Cannabis Act is a law of general application that applies to all of British Columbia, including First Nations land, the province's Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General, Mike Farnworth, has said that in the past that there is a concern that this interpretation could be tested by actions such as enforcement that could be interpreted differently by the courts. There are 3 unlicensed cannabis stores operating within Comcocks First Nation. One of those stores, the Buttery, was again open for business on May 10th, a day after the enforcement action. The other 2 stores did not answer their phones.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's not going to, it's. We have another story that's coming up that questions, something similar, questions about the Indigenous stores on, out in the urban areas, not on the reserved lands.
Yep.
So we'll get into that story on the second half of the broadcast. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Because as we've talked before the show, lots here in Ontario.
Tons here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And they're not paying attention to where the reserve, the technical reserve land is. They're saying, hey, we're on Turtle Island and we're going to open up on Turtle Island. And they have.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have. Exactly. All right. On to the next story.
Class action lawsuit filed against the SQDC. This is coming to us from City News Everywhere.
Yeah. Class action lawsuit is being filed against Quebec's government-run cannabis shops, the Soviet SQDC. Mm-hmm. The legal advisors and cannabis consultants launched a class action on behalf of Gabriel Belanger against the SQDC, alleging it doesn't comply with the Consumer Protection Act.
Belanger alleges he's forced to make blind purchases when he orders recreational cannabis products on the SQDC website. The lawsuit claims all cannabis products sold online that mention a rotating variety in their description does not comply with the CPA, since the law states consumers must have access to a description that includes the characteristics and technical specifications of the product.
So, like, people or go in there, order pre-rolls, and they don't even know what they're getting?
I guess, yeah.
Wow. The SQDC, a state corporation, appears to us to be violating its own Consumer Protection Act, and it seems abnormal to us that cannabis consumers in Quebec are forced to make blind purchases when purchasing cannabis on the only legal cannabis sales site in the province. Yeah. Said Group SGF lawyer Maxime Guerin in a press release. The class action lawsuit includes all individuals who have purchased cannabis in the dried flower and pre-roll categories, whose description on the SQDC website has said rotating variety since October of 2018. Wow, that's a lot of people.
I've been on the website a couple of times when I've been in Quebec just to see what they have, but I've never noticed that. I've always looked for specific strains, so I just go in the little search bar and I type in the strain that I'm looking for and see if they have it.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's blind, just sort of seems like you don't know what you're buying.
Yeah, it's weird. That's strange. Yeah. I'm going to have to go peruse the website later.
Yeah. Check it out. I won't be able to read anything though, because I'm sure it's all French, isn't it?
Yes, but you can. If you go in through Google, you can translate the page to English, and the whole page changes over.
The whole page changes. Right. Okay. All righty. On to the next story. Here we go.
Coming to us from New Scientist, psychedelic toxins from toads could treat depression and anxiety.
There's the toad. A psychedelic compound secreted by a poisonous toad could help treat depression and anxiety, according to a study in mice. When frightened, Colorado river toads release a hallucinogenic compound related to the drug DMT from glands in their skin. DMT is similar in structure and affects the psilocybin hallucinogen from magic mushrooms. Colorado river toads live in and around this Sonoran Desert, spanning parts of Arizona, California, and Mexico. And people seeking out the groovy effects of the substance may either lick the toads directly or extract the venom, dry it, and smoke it.
Oh, this is the medicine that I am currently in school studying. And yeah, so the Colorado river toad, or the Bufo alvarius, which is actually the Ancilius alvarius, it does release a hallucinogenic compound. It is not related to NN-DMT, although it goes by the same name. It's kind of similar, but not really. And it's not like psilocybin. I'll be honest. Like vaping Bufo is not like psilocybin. And please don't go lick the toads. Please.
Yeah, I know. You know, I didn't even share this article online because I didn't want anybody to hurt the toads.
Yeah, don't lick the toads. Please don't lick the toads. Researchers at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York investigated the potential health benefits of the toad secretions. We know that psychedelics like psilocybin can treat depression in some people, but it isn't fully clear what this compound helps. However, it appears to interact with serotonin receptors and reset the activity of neural circuits in the brain. Most psychedelic research has explored the drug's effects on a particular kind of serotonin receptor called the 5-HT2A, HT2A. But the team behind the new study focused on a more obscure serotonin receptor called the 5-HT1A, which past studies suggest interacts with the toad toxin. They both do.
Yeah, we're going to learn more about this from Mount Sinai in the second half of the broadcast as well. The researchers chemically tweaked the toad-derived compound to solely signal the 5-HT1A receptors, which eliminated its hallucinogenic effects, and gave it to mice with signs of stress and depression. They found that mice who received the compound drank more tasty sugar water and spent more time with peers. Both signs of lowered anxiety and depression. Similar effects have been seen in people receiving LSD.
Yeah. Frankly, that's what we hope to see, says Audrey Warren at Mount Sinai Hospital, because humans share similar receptors in their brain. The compound may offer therapeutic promise in people. It's our hope that down the line, someone could use the findings of our study to help design novel antidepressants for humans. But that's certainly a long way out, says Warren.
Until then, she cautions against licking the Colorado River toads or smoking the poison. Along with intense hallucinations, it can lead to anxiety, vomiting, seizures, and death, she says.
Yeah, don't lick the toads.
Don't lick the toads. Leave the
don't
toads
lick
alone.
the toads. And find yourself a facilitator to help you vape the poisons, as they call it, or the venom. And yeah.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool thing. Ken Nelson was the gentleman that first smoked the Bufo alvarius venom years ago, and he wrote a book about it. And then eventually another gentleman came along and read the book, and he is the vegan scientist that came up with making the pure molecules so people would stop going after the toads. It's really cool.
Yeah, protect the toads, man. It's too bad they couldn't find another natural way of doing it instead of hurting toads, but
yep.
Alrighty. I'm looking at the time. We're just flying through these first articles. Wow.
Yeah. Here I am trying not to do so much talking, so we'll get through them. Maybe talk more.
I just think, geez, but this is our last one before we go to break. You're not at the time.
Wow.
Gee, we're fine. Okay, here we go. Headlines up.
Yeah, coming to us from CTV News Kitchener. Unlicensed cannabis stores in Cambridge, Ontario, operating despite requests to shut them down.
All right, here we go. Find out who's going after who here. 2 unlicensed cannabis stores in Cambridge, Ontario, are causing concern, but for now, both remain open. Sovereign Toke and Grand River Medicinal both have signs posted outside reading, "This store is operated by sovereign people on sovereign land. We are exercising our constitutional and inherited rights."
Yeah, it continues to say these stores that don't have to follow any of the same rules, they don't have any of the same costs, and they undercut the prices of the legal stores, explains Corey Van Erzal, who is the president of True North Cannabis Company, which has a location on King Street East, just down the road from one of the unlicensed stores. And just let me tell you, as somebody who shops at both, nobody's undercutting anybody. The prices are actually pretty even. Van Israel notes that licensed stores face a number of expenses ranging from insurance fees to computer programs required for government reporting of sales. They also have to operate under strict rules, including ones that regulate the strength of their products.
Unlicensed stores, on the other hand, do not. Van Wersel says that the prices are cheaper and their products are stronger. Well, hey, why don't you lobby your government so you can have stronger products? Come on. He's reached out to the Waterloo Regional Police Service in the hopes of getting the stores shut down.
They told me to call the AGCO, which is the Alcohol and Gaming Commission. They told me to call the OPP. The OPP tell me to call regional police, he explained. In a statement, so nobody wants to touch this, right? And I don't blame them. We're all watching what's going to happen to that one in Nova Scotia that was raided.
Yeah.
In a statement to CTV News, Waterloo Regional Police said, "We take all incidents of criminal nature seriously and can confirm that illegal cannabis dispensaries throughout the region are being investigated by our service in partnership with the Provincial Cannabis Enforcement Team."
He goes on to say that we remind the public that it is illegal and unsafe to purchase cannabis from anywhere other than the Ontario authorized licensed retail shop or online through the OCS store. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario said it's only responsible for regulating Ontario's cannabis stores, but does not have a compliance rule for ones that operate without a license, while Ontario Provincial Police said this case would fall under the jurisdiction of local police.
Yeah. Oh, this is hilarious. According to Indigenous rights lawyer Sarah Mainville, there are a number of so-called sovereign stores operating in Southern Ontario. I've been to a lot of them. They're awesome. This is sort of the problem coming to roost, that the federal and provincial governments have ignored First Nations who have wanted to legitimately participate in this industry and don't have the tools to do so.
Mainville said Ontario missed an opportunity when developing its cannabis store framework. He says the answer for me, it always has been to legitimize First Nations in regulating these activities so it doesn't end up spilling across the province.
It's going to spill across the province.
It has.
Because here in Nova Scotia, just because we have a few minutes, I'm going to talk for a second. Here in Nova Scotia, we have had Indigenous dispensaries for quite a while, since before legalization. When legalization came along, a couple of years into legalization, they tried to raid these Indigenous stores with absolutely no luck. The regular rest of the province RCMP was told that this is on the reserve. It is up to the Chief and Council and the RCMP that rule the reserve. And, the chiefs and council, because all of these stores have gone to their chief and council and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And the chief and council says, okay, and so then they open these stores and they expand these stores and they're doing a great job. So they have recently, the same chief and council has given permission now to allow their people to come off the reserve and open basically anywhere they want. They're saying this is Turtle Island and it's all reserve land. So they have opened 3 stores off reserve. And the first one was raided here a few months back. And everybody was in shock. They opened the next day. They went to court. The people who were there working when they were raided were given provisions that they're not allowed to do this and they're not allowed to do that. The chief stood up and took the province to court and said, you cannot do this to my people. You cannot take their rights, their indigenous rights away from them. You cannot take away their guns. You cannot take away their ability to hunt. You cannot take away all of these things. And the government of Nova Scotia, the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia, agreed and gave them and said, you know what, you're right. So like they still have to face the charges of the raid. And the only provision put on the people that were there caught working now, the only one left is they're not allowed to work in the store. You know, they have to not work in the cannabis industry at all until they go to court for these charges. But all of the other rights that are normally put on somebody that is on, that has been caught and then released until they
there's certain things.
Everything else was taken away, and it was really beautiful to see. So now everybody here in Nova Scotia, we're all sitting on pins and needles. We can't wait for them to go to court. We want the date, and I think
no date yet, eh?
There's no date for the charges to appear in court yet. But the one step that they have taken, the fact that the chief went and did this himself and stood there in court and said, you cannot take the rights away from my people. And the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia, agreed. It's a big, huge, massive step. I mean, the fact that the chief went and did this, I think that you're going to see some big changes coming along when this finally gets to court. And I personally can't wait. And I hope that it's something that they take it all the way to Canadian Supreme Court eventually, and it benefits the rest of the country.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's the story again. Continue along.
Yes. I'm not exactly sure where we were because I went off topic.
I know where we were. Mainville. Okay. Mainville adds that these kinds of stores are low on the enforcement list for municipal and provincial police services. While some have raised concerns about the safety of the products being sold at these stores, Mainville said those fears may be overblown.
Yeah, it's your neighborhood dealer that's supplying these cannabis stores, she explained. Mainville said that there are problems with unlicensed stores operating under sovereignty banner. I definitely support the assertion of rights in a lot of different ways, but this assertion of rights is not benefiting anybody but the store owner and probably a number of partners behind them that are probably not even Indigenous. So this is one of the sole reasons why I am very critical of it. I don't see any benefit going back to the community in these stores, unlike some of the First Nation stores that are open and have the support of the community. They do revenue sharing, and they do give back to the community, and these stores do not.
CTV News visited both Cambridge stores, hoping to speak with the owners, but neither have responded to the request for an interview. There's the sign that's in the windows.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's still gonna. I can just see it. Eventually, something's gonna. Well, as you mentioned, you got the store down there that's going to court, so it'll be interesting. What's going to happen here in Ontario. As we saw, it's just. Nobody wants to touch this. Not my jurisdiction. That's right.
Yep. I was surprised to hear that they were raided here, but then again, like I say, the Nova Scotia RCMP went on to reserve land and raided there as well, right?
I see. Well, the Green Mile there in Alderville,
yes.
Near me. Early on, there was a store in there that did get raided.
Really?
Yeah, it was run by a non-Indigenous person. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, Tim was his name, but not the same. Not the Tim from Legacy. No, it was another guy. His name was Tim. So, all righty, we're halfway through the stories. Time for us to take a break. And we'll be right back in about 2.5 minutes. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at Pace Radio.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Camelford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats. And look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have. As well as, for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Camelford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Camelford, Ontario.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And we're back, ready to bring you 4 more stories, psychedelics and cannabis educational news here at paceradio.net. Well, Cindy, we got 4 more to go. Let's see, we got a couple cannabis stories and we got a couple of psychedelic stories.
Yeah.
And the next one is up.
Coming to us from cannabis.net. Do psychedelic mushrooms have an entourage effect similar to cannabis?
Interesting. Understanding how the entourage effect works in psilocybin mushrooms, learn fascinating ways how they work, they says. Most of us are already familiar with the entourage effect in cannabis. In essence, the entourage effect means that the therapeutic compounds in cannabis work more efficiently with one another, synergistically to provide health benefits that are more powerful compared to when we take compounds on its own. While there are cannabis products that isolate THC and CBD, the science tells us that taking flower or full spectrum form, where other cannabinoids and terpenes are present, are much more effective than one compound on its own.
Yeah, the concept of the entourage effect was discovered in 1999 by none other than Raphael McCurlum, the famous godfather of THC. Up until recently, most of what we know about the entourage effect has been limited to cannabis plants. Now there's new data suggesting the same can be observed when medicating with psychedelic mushrooms. After all, psilocybin mushrooms, just like cannabis, are also contain a complex array of other compounds, not just the star compounds that they are known for. While we do have some knowledge of how psilocybin works in the body, thanks to clinical tests, keep in mind they do make use of synthesized psilocybin for research most of the time.
According to a recent study, psilocybin extracts may have more powerful health benefits for treating depression, OCD, anxiety, and PTSD, to name a few, because of other psychoactive as well as non-psychoactive compounds in the mushroom. Now, according to Bernard Lear, he's an author at Hebrew University, he says that my colleagues and I are very interested in the potential of psychedelics to treat serious treatment-resistant psychiatric disorders such as depression, PTSD, OCD, and even schizophrenia. There are many anecdotal and clinical reports which suggest the extract of psilocybin-containing mushrooms may have unique effects that are quantitatively different from chemical psilocybin, and also some preclinical studies. This observation has important clinical implications and we wanted to test it empirically in a laboratory study. That's what they said. So, for the study, the researchers compared naturally derived mushroom extracts to chemically made psilocybin with the intention of discovering whether the other compounds within the extract can provide benefits not found when consuming isolated psilocybin.
The researchers utilized male adult mice for the trials. They were divided into groups. Some were given the naturally occurring mushroom extracts, while the others were given the synthetic psilocybin. Meanwhile, others were given a control solution made of saline. Additionally, the researchers analyzed the heat twitch response to the HTR assay, which is a reputable method for analyzing the impacts of psychedelics on mice. Furthermore, the researchers analyzed the mice in a molecular and biochemical level to understand any synaptic protein expressions within the brain, which are features of neuroplasticity. The results were astonishing. They found that the brains of mice who were given the naturally occurring mushroom extract showed more significant neuroplasticity markers through the presence of synaptic proteins, specifically the GAP43, the SV2A, and the PSD95. Since these proteins are required for development, synaptic growth, and neuroplasticity, I was doing really good up until that one word, suggest that naturally occurring mushroom extracts may indeed have a more powerful impact compared to psilocybin isolate.
Yeah, I try not to laugh when we all struggle with some of these words, but it's just that you went, oh, when you looked at that one. Our findings need to be confirmed in human studies, but they do suggest that there may be therapeutic advantages to psilocybin containing mushroom extract over chemically synthesized psilocybin, which both are administered at the same psilocybin dose, explains Lear to the Psych Post. So when magic mushrooms are cultivated and extracted naturally, the submetabolites of the plant remain intact, unlike the isolated versions that are synthetically produced in a laboratory, since it only contains psilocybin. There are several examples, such as the baeocystin triptamine, and which can induce mild hallucinogenic effects. Beta carbolines have also been discovered in psychedelic mushrooms, which can effectively help metabolize psilocin in the human body, causing a more intensive psychedelic experience.
While the entourage effect of cannabis is already widely studied and better understood, the opposite is true when it comes to psychedelic mushrooms. There's still so much we need to understand and study better. Rodent studies are a start, but translating them to humans is a whole other ballgame. In addition, other experts have already acknowledged the challenges of identifying such impacts of the entourage effect. For instance, Alan Rockefeller, a renowned mycologist who specializes in DNA sequencing as well as photography of fungi, tells Psychedelic Health no one really knows whether the entourage effect occurs with mushrooms.
Well, that's why they're doing these tests. He goes on to elaborate the difficulties associated with studying mushrooms. It is difficult to study because the same batch of mushrooms will have different effects in different people, and the same person on different days, Rockefeller said. Also, it's difficult to understand which compounds are active in a plant or a mushroom and how large the impact is for these active compounds. Researchers also need to understand the concentrations of each compound and how different growing environments or processing can impact it. It sounds a lot like cannabis, doesn't it? So many different things. There are a dozen different triptamines that can occur in mushrooms, plus a few beta carbolines and hundreds of other molecules. So there is probably more than just psilocybin having an effect. Studying one compound at a time is hard enough. Studying mixtures of hundreds of compounds is much more difficult. Without pure compounds, it is difficult to get repeatable effects, Rockefeller says. It is possible that the therapeutic potential in it is different depending on the different compounds in the mushrooms. It's also possible that psilocybin is the only thing that matters, and the other compounds are mostly inactive. Yeah, it's like all the different cannabinoids have different beneficial effects.
Yeah.
In cannabis, I can see that happening with mushrooms, sure.
Yeah, and it's true. Like when we first started really learning about CBD, a lot of people would take pure CBD and not get the effect that they were reading about. But when you took it from a whole plant, so even though it was minuscule, you had all the other compounds in there, all of a sudden CBD worked for them.
Yeah, exactly.
In conclusion, there's so much yet we need to know about how psychedelic mushrooms work. However, the possibilities that can be brought about by harnessing the power of the entourage effect in magic mushrooms is incredibly exciting. There is so much potential in this field that we can only truly uncover with more studies.
There you go.
Yeah.
I that's like with cannabis, nobody's like one doctor that I used to watching the documentaries. The doctor says, no one's ever asked me for synthetic cannabis. They asked for cannabis. They want whole cannabis. And I could see mushrooms being the same way, right?
Yep.
So, all righty. Oh, there was some throat. Okay, you ready? There we go.
I'm ready. Heading over to StratCan. Organigram recalls a small batch of its big bag of buds for having too much THC?
Wow, I didn't know that we had a limit. Organigram has recalled one of its dry cannabis sold in Ontario due to a labeling error. The product's big bag of buds, calm ounce GMO cookies, and ultra sour dried cannabis were recalled due to a label showing a lower THC total than what was present in the cannabis.
The 28-gram SKUs, 2 14-gram units, were labeled as having a total THC of 20.9%, while the actual total was 27.1%. There were 138 units of recalled products sold from April 28th to May 9th with this lot number. And Health Canada reminds consumers that they can contact the store where they purchased the cannabis if they wish to return it.
I don't know of too many who will, but there might be somebody. Any health and safety complaints related to the use of cannabis product or any other cannabis product may be done by filling out a Health Canada's online complaint form. Labeling errors are the most common reason for cannabis product recalls in Canada, and the process can be costly for producers. There have been 5 recalls listed by Health Canada for cannabis products so far in 2024. Unless someone's, in a way, some people might be pleasantly surprised by but they'd be misled, thinking that was only 20%, and they'll wonder why some other product, 26%, wasn't as effective.
Yep.
But
I don't know about the recall on that, but letting people know it was stronger. I mean, like it's not like there was anything wrong with it,
right?
And when they recall stuff like that, they just destroy it. It's not like they're going to relabel it and put it back out.
No, they're not. No, they're not. That's for sure. Oh, we got a message here, right from my only reporter, GM. I'm going to say good morning. That's what that means. All righty. On to our next story, which I'm going to say before I bring it up was that we had talked briefly about it earlier. So we'll probably hear a little bit more on the frogs and stuff. And we get right to the horse's mouth with this one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Coming to us from Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai scientists unravel how psychedelic drugs interact with serotonin receptors to potentially produce therapeutic benefits.
Researchers at the Icahn School of Medicine in Mount Sinai has shed valuable light on the complex mechanisms by which a class of psychedelic drugs binds to and activates serotonin receptors to produce potential therapeutic effects in patients with neuroplastic or neuropsychiatric disorders such as depression and anxiety. In a study published May 8th in Nature, the team reported that certain psychedelic drugs interact with an underappreciated member of the serotonin receptor family in the brain known as 5-HT1A to produce therapeutic benefits in animal models. Psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin have entered clinical trials with promising early results, though we still don't understand how they engage different molecular targets in the brain to trigger their therapeutic effects, says first author Andrea Warren. She's a PhD candidate at the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences at Mount Sinai. She says, our study highlights for the first time how serotonin receptors like 5-HT1A likely modulate the subjective effects of the psychedelic experience and also play a potentially pivotal role in their clinically observed therapeutic outcome.
LSD and 5-MeO-DMT, a psychedelic found in the secretions of the Colorado river toad, aka bufo or Encilius alvarius, are known to mediate their hallucinogenic effects through the serotonin receptor 5-HT2A, though these drugs or medicines also activate the 5-HT1A, a validated therapeutic target for treating depression and anxiety. Working closely with co-author Dolores Sams, who is a PhD professor in the Department of Chemistry at Columbia University, the team synthesized and tested 5-MeO-DMT derivatives in cell signaling assays and cryo electron myoscopy to identify the chemical components most likely to cause a drug to preferentially activate the HT1A over the HT2A. That exercise led to the discovery that the compound termed 4F5-MeO-PYRT was the most 5-HT1A selective compound in the series. Leona Praise, who has her PhD, is an instructor in the lab of Scott Russo, PhD, director of the Center for Effective Neuroscience and the Brain and Body Research Center at Mount Sinai. Then tested that lead compound in a mouse model of depression and showed that the 4F5-MeO-PYRT had antidepressant-like effects that are effectively mediated by the 5-HT1A. Wow. We were able to fine-tune the 5-MeO-DMT serotonin scaffold to obtain the maximum activity at the 5-HT1A interface and minimal activity at the 5-HT2A, explains senior author Daniel Wacker, who PhD, and he's the assistant professor of pharmacology sciences and neuroscience at Mount Sinai. He says, our findings suggest that receptors other than the 5-HT2A not only modulate behavior effective stemming from psychedelics, but may substantially contribute to their therapeutic potential. In fact, we were pleasantly surprised by the strength of the contribution to 5-MeO-DMT, which is currently being tested in several clinical trials for depression. We believe our study will lead to a better understanding of the complex pharmacology of psychedelics that involve many receptor types.
Indeed, researchers are hopeful based on their breakthrough findings that it may soon be possible to design novel psychedelic-derived medications that don't possess the hallucinogenic properties of current drugs. Raising their expectations is the discovery that their lead compound, the most 5-HT1A selective analog to 5-MeO-DMT, showed antidepressant effects without the HT2A-related hallucinogens. Another near-term target for scientists is investigating the impact of the 5-MeO-DMT in preclinical models of depression. Were demonstrated that psychedelics have complex psychological effects that span many different receptor types, emphasizes first author Warren, and are now ready to build on that finding to develop improved therapeutics for a range of mental health disorders.
Research reported in this press release was supported by the National Institute of General Medicine Sciences, the National Institute of Mental Health, and the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And the content is solely the responsibility of the authors and does not necessarily represent of,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. There you go. There you
It's,
go. So,
it's really cool.
Yeah, right. Coming right from the researchers themselves. That's what I like. Is instead of getting something that starts off as good and stay good at the end, but it gets changed as it makes its way along, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like rumors in a town can start at one end and it's completely different by the time it gets to the other.
Yeah, the school that I am going to is involved heavily in some of the research that's going on around the world right now. So I have been privy to watching one of these studies happen as it's happening, and I really can't wait till it gets to this point that we can report on it, because it's really, really, really cool stuff that I'm seeing coming out of this beautiful medicine of 5-MeO-DMT. And we're learning what it does to the brain and how it helps the people. So these are human studies that are going on right now down in Mexico. It's really cool stuff.
Wow. I'd like to be able to report on that when it comes through. Yeah. All right. Okay. On to our last story of the day.
Coming to us from MJ Biz Daily, Minnesota home growers file suit seeking to sell their cannabis without a license.
Wow. A group of home growers in Minnesota has filed the state's first cannabis-related lawsuit, contending a century-old provision allows them to sell their cannabis without a license. Four state residents are challenging the state's new cannabis law that mandates only licensed businesses can sell cannabis, according to the Min-Post.
Yeah, the lawsuit filed in Ramsey County District Court names as defendants the Office of Cannabis Management, the OCM, which is the state's chief cannabis regulator, the OCM interim director, Charlene Briner, and the state attorney general, Keith Ellison. The lawsuit claims Article 13, Section 7 of the Massachusetts Constitution, which was adopted 120 years ago, supersedes the state's new cannabis laws.
This is be interesting. According to the early 20th century provision, any person may sell or peddle the products of the farm or garden occupied and cultivated by him without obtaining a license. If that's what it says, then they got a point.
That's right.
Home cultivation is legal under Minnesota's new marijuana law, which Governor Tim Walz signed in May, making Minnesota the 23rd state in the U.S. to legalize adult use.
The lawsuit also asks the court to block any criminal enforcement of the sale of cannabis produced from home cultivation without a license, the Min-Post reported. If the lawsuit were to prove successful, home growers could become competitors of licensed adult use stores, which face higher business costs. I think this is awesome. Home growers should be able to go to their local farm markets and whatnot and sell their wares.
Yeah. This would be. We'll have to dig into it. Do we have one of these in Ontario or Canada? Meanwhile, Minnesota's cannabis stakeholders are concerned that the adult use market will be undersupplied and or delayed if licensed cultivators aren't or can't begin grow cycles before lawmakers approve final rules. Yeah. Legislators voted against a proposed amendment to a bill that would allow state regulators to pre-approve cultivators.
Yeah, adult use cannabis sales in Minnesota are scheduled to begin in early 2025.
Well, we will have to look for a follow-up story to this, because this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Those old laws that are still on the books that haven't been changed or eliminated, that could come back and bite politicians. There's no doubt about that. It's not just in the cannabis end of things.
One of the exciting things that I noticed this past weekend, so just like over the last couple of days, farmers markets are starting to pop up all over the place again. Weekend farmers markets, every Sunday down here. And we have a hemp CBD farmer here called they are called Cannapharm, CANNAPHARM, and they only sell CBD related products. Yeah. The whole plant, and they are popping up at all of the farmers markets, and they are doing a smile on their face, and they are doing it loud.
Well, I can add to that because they're also at the Lindsay's Farmers Market, just like an hours from me. I see their posts online all the time.
Yep. So they're
Thanking
just allowed
everybody
across
and-
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you see other people that are just popping up with their homemade tinctures. I have seen Amanita muscaria tincture. I have seen both THC and CBD tinctures at farmers market. They're not being as loud about it as Canafarm, but they are still doing it out in the open with their own wares. They're not selling buds at the farmers market or anything like that. So it's things that are made up to be medicine. So they're tinctures with all that stuff. But yeah, to see it happening is just really freaking cool. I mean, I just love it.
Yeah, I went to Outdoor Sportsman and RV show recently this spring. There was a cannabis booth in there. The fellow was selling seeds and the whole bit.
Nice.
Yeah, right there. I went, wow, holy smokes, I know I'm gonna hang around for the day.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
swap cards and the whole bit.
yeah, it's exciting to see it happening. And it's weird because being from the East Coast, I mean, here in Canada, Vancouver has often been thought of as ground zero for cannabis. And it almost seems like things are evening out. You see a lot more raids happening out there. There's not as many Indigenous stores out there. They're not fighting like that way.
Mhm.
You are seeing the mushroom store the mushroom stores pop up, but as far as a lot of the other stuff, it's coming down. Like, I mean, even their festivals or their daily things that they hold, like 420 or Cannabis Day, or the RCMP and the police are coming in and they're gating off Thornton Park and they're gating
there's
Beach.
yeah.
And they raided the art gallery on 420 and arrested a bunch of people and took a bunch of stuff. And, and
Yeah.
Vancouver used to be, hey, it's 420. Where do you want to go? Vancouver. There's going to be 20,000 people on the beach. It's going to be awesome. And since COVID, they have shut it all down.
Yeah. I remember we reported on, I think it was Prince George or something. How in one location, how it was well received, it was promoted, as accepted by the community or by the council. But then in other places, like you said, they were raided, and shut down. Yeah, totally not right. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to mention before we say goodbye?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Okay.
How about you? Anything left to add? Anything you want to say?
No. I usually get it out quite a bit during the show. So. Yeah. No. Okay. Other than that, that's our Pace News report for May the 13th. Almost a long weekend coming up. Actually, we won't be broadcasting next Monday because it's a long weekend.
Oh, okay. I should put that in my calendar, and then I won't be here the Monday after that because I have dental surgery.
Correct. Exactly. So yeah, it's a good thing I remembered that. So no show next Monday, but our next broadcast will be this coming Thursday. Glenn and I will be doing the news show. Same as we do right here. Anybody who's watched, the same thing on Thursday. It's just so much news. You can't do it all in one program. No, you can't. All right. Well, thanks to our buds at legacy420.com, Camelford Lifestyle Shop in downtown Camelford, and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca in Kingston, Ontario. Thanks for watching. Thanks. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.